Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and this is my review for the new Xscape reality show. You know, Xscape does Kickin' It. This is, of course, season 1, episode 1. This is my third review that I'm doing today. It is 2:21 in the morning, and I still have to watch The Walking Dead and try to review that one. I don't know how that's gonna go. I might have to do The Walking Dead tomorrow. How was your day? How was your day? How was your day? Yes, there's something new that I put in. Please drop a comment below to let me know how your day went. And yeah, cool. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, please, and thank you. So I am an Xscape fan. I have always been an Xscape fan. From when they first came out back in the 90s. It was around, I think, like 92. So I was 10 in 92. Dang, I was that young. Okay. But I think the album couldn't have came out in 92 because I remember singing Just Kickin' It. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. So I don't think I was 10. But I think that's when they first came out. Maybe not when they first had their hit song. Who knows? So we all know the group disbanded. It has been years and years and years and years and years. So they are on this show, and we see how they were saying in the beginning of it, you know, we were a group, we were great, you know, JD founded us and all this stuff, and we ended up breaking up. And they're saying how they've never agreed on how the group broke up. You know, Candy was saying they broke up because Natasha wanted to go solo. Natasha saying they broke up because Candy wanted to go solo. And then they say, you know, so they had broken up. They wanted to get back together until someone did something stupid. That would be Tamika, who was Natasha's sister, who went on the radio back in 2007 and basically said the group broke up because Candy was sleeping with Jermaine. How Candy was basically sleeping with everybody in So Def. It's like, yeah, she sleep with everybody, and they play the audio of this interview of what Tamika said on the air. And it was like, we broke up because Candy was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri. She slept with his daddy. She was sleeping with everybody in So Def because that's what Candy do. She sleep around. Bitch. I would not have went back to that group either. Because what you won't ever do is go on the radio and say what I do is sleep with people and that's why we broke up. Because if you think about it, even in 2007, they had been broken up for, you know what I'm saying, for a little bit. So Candy was like, you know, I was hurt by that. I couldn't believe that she went on the radio and said that because it was lies and it hurt me. And ever since then, we hadn't spoken. It had been 9 years. So then they say how Candy had heard about or got word about a possible Xscape biopic movie that it was unauthorized, basically. They had nothing to do with it. But they heard that Jermaine Dupri was involved in some kind of way. So because they were upset about that and they wanted to basically work together to prevent this unauthorized biopic movie about them being made, but they had to kind of do it together. And my hair looks crazy, but it's okay because it's down at 2:30 in the morning. But the only way Candy was like, the only way she would work with them to do this together, you know, as a group or whatnot, would be if Tamika went on the radio and apologized for the lies that she said, you know, 9 years ago. And I mean, is that something petty to do? Absolutely not. You want to know why? You went on the radio and lied and told dirt on my name. You need to go back on the radio and be just as public and apologize. Because apologizing to me in private doesn't mean anyone will know what you said was a goddamn gone lie. So from there, we see, because I saw too on Snapchat or IG Live or Facebook Live, one of the two. Because it was Candy who was on, I think she was on Facebook Live. Or maybe it was Instagram Live, I can't remember which one it was. But they were on the Big Tigger show, like they were just going to talk about whatever. And we see where Tamika apologized for what she said to Candy all those years ago. So from there, Big Tigger says, you heard it here, you know, Latasha apologized, not Latasha, Tamika, and Xscape is back together. They're back together, everybody. I remember that happening. And he was like, okay, what's next? Are you going to do new music, new tour, or whatever. Candy then says, like, in her confession, she says, when he said it, I was thinking, we not back together. You know, that was the first time we were having any kind of conversation. Just in general, it was more about us getting back together to stop this movie, not get back together to do music. And she's like, I was just here to give my apology. So, you know, that's kind of how it starts off. And we then see the ladies at dinner. And they're kind of coming together to just discuss what's going on, since they had been on the radio. And it had been a couple weeks since that had happened. And, you know, so they're all there, you know, Candy, Tiny, Latasha, and Tamika. And, you know, Tamika is basically asking Candy, you know, if she was still mad, you know, if she accepted her apology, and if she felt like her apology was sincere. So Candy thought about it, and she was like, well, I hope it was sincere, but, you know, it is what it is. And Tamika was like, but it's kind of like a yes or no question. And she was like, well, it's not really. And even, I think, Latasha agreed, like, well, no, it's not that simple. My thing is, if you did something to me 9 years ago that was hurtful and you lied on me, just because you said sorry a couple weeks ago don't mean all the animosity we had for these past 9 years just goes out the window. It's going to take time for me to even trust that, one, your apology was sincere, and two, you're not going to put some bullshit again. So she was truthful. She said, you know, I hope it was sincere, you know, and that's all that she really said. But she even said, you know, it's not that easy to just up and forget people. And I completely agree. And, you know, Latasha brings up how, since they had been on the radio, they were getting all these interviews, these offers to do different shows. So she brings up how, you know, Essence called and offered them to perform at Essence Fest, and also they got a call from someone in Detroit for them to perform at Shane Park. Now, you know, I'm in Michigan, I'm in Detroit, basically, and Shane Park is one of our performing venues. It hosts, as they said, about 7,000 people, and, you know, they did come to Detroit. And when the tickets went on, I didn't go to the show because shows here is always crowded and stuff like that. I do more, and I'm not a concert person because I hate a lot of noise. Like, I don't do concerts. I don't do, like, clubs anymore. It's too much noise. I do plays. I don't mind plays. But, like, music, no, I listen to it on the radio. Anywho, they did come to Detroit, and when the first show, it was the summer. It was like the 4th of July. It was like the 4th of July when the first show was. And the show sold out, like, in less than a day, to where they had to add a second show. So they did do 2 shows here in Detroit, down at our Shane Park. And everyone loved it. Like, it was a great, great show, because it was all over Instagram. Of course, people had videos and all that stuff. And I have friends who went to the show. And it was really, really good. But anywho, so they're kind of talking, and Candy like, well, let's do Essence. And let's do the Detroit show, and we'll see how we mesh. Because again, remember, they haven't performed together in, like, since the 90s. Okay, they haven't. It's 2017. So Candy was truthful. She said, let's see how it all works out, and we can kind of go from there. So from there, they kind of bring up Jermaine was supposedly working on this movie, and I think Latasha said, well, it was more like he was working on the music to give them licensing for the actual music. And Candy was like, I feel like that's some bullshit. I feel like he knew what was going on, and he could have gave us a heads up about what was going on. I completely agree. He could have at least said, someone's making a movie. Y'all should probably check it out just to see what's going on. But he didn't do that. So from there, we then see the girls are not at rehearsal, because now they're going to do this Essence show and the Detroit show. And they are it's like 21 days before Essence Festival. And, you know, it's day 1 of rehearsal, and Tamika not there. She is at home with diarrhea. And I'm like, they just gonna say that's what she not there for. But whatever. But then they're like, you know, Tamika's known for being late and kind of not showing up for stuff like that. So they're not kind of surprised. So Tiny called her on the phone like, girl, look, It's day one of rehearsal. You know, you was on how much you want to do this tour and stuff, so your ass needs to get here. And she was like, you know, I don't feel good. My stomach hurt. I'm going to the bathroom. And she like, girl, you better drink some Pepto-Bismol on to get your ass here. And then, you know, and she got her on speakerphone. It's like, you have no sympathy for my butt, for my booty hole. And she was like, girl, you on speakerphone. Oh my God. But, you know, it is what it is. So, she's like, all right, I'll be there in a minute. So they start rehearsing. And they sound good. And, you know, even though for a moment they didn't remember the words to one of the songs. I can't think of what song it was. So, you know, Tamika does get there. And, you know, they start talking about how, because Latasha was the oldest back in the day, that she was kind of the leader of the group because she was the oldest. And, you know, because both, I think it was Tiny was saying that? I think they all was kind of saying that. But I'm like, that kind of usually does happen. The oldest person kind of does take reign over stuff because they're just the older person. And, you know, Latasha then says how, you know, yeah, back in the day, I was the voice of the group. Now, this is my thing when she said that. I don't think I'm gonna like you because I feel like Xscape isn't just one person. There is no voice of Xscape. Xscape is an Xscape with all 4 members. Point blank, period. And, you know, I'm like, maybe she meant that she was the voice of the group because back in the day, she was the leader of the group because she was the oldest. But I don't, like, I would have never went to see an Xscape show back in the day if all 4 ladies wasn't there. Because my thing is, it just doesn't make any sense to do it that way. But, and again, I think they are all the voice of the group. Every song is made with all 4 of their harmonies. So, you know, it just is what it is. And so as they're practicing, I think they were practicing understanding. And when it goes to a part where Candy hits that high note, Candy's going to her high note, and the ladies is doing something else, and she like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh yeah, she don't know this version. I'm looking like, this version? What version? I only know one version as an Xscape fan. And they bring up, like, Latasha, like, oh yeah, I had changed it. So we come to find out when Candy wasn't in the group, when they tried to be a trio, they changed it because she wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, but why y'all performing that version when Candy is there? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, to me, I'm like, y'all going into that version was stupid. And Candy is like, so I don't know this version, what's going on. So as they're having that whole situation, we then see R. Kelly ex-wife, who is Andrea Kelly, and she comes in as the choreographer. Now, Andrea Kelly was on the short-lived, like, it was like an exit show, because it was her, it was Eddie Murphy's ex-wife, it was one of Prince's ex-wives, I think it was one of Martin Lawrence's ex-wives. It was a few ex-wives on the show. I can't think of the name of the show, though. And that's how I realized that she was R. Kelly's ex-wife. And we know R. Kelly only had one wife, and that was her, and it was a whole thing. So yeah, but she's on here, and for me it was awkward. I feel like all the ladies of Xscape are of a certain age. They're all in their 40s. Not, I think somebody might be like 30 something. But yeah, I'm like, I still don't want to see them up on the stage shaking their ass the way, you know, Andrea was trying to have them shake their ass. I mean, she came there in a goddamn bathing suit with her ass cheeks hanging out. And let's not get it twisted. Andrea has a great, great body as a dancer. You know what I'm saying? But, girl, we don't want to see your ass, but I also get, she's like, let me showcase myself so that other people or other artists can see, you know what I'm saying, in case you didn't know, I'm the shit. And, you know, it was what it was, but she's like, yeah, you know, I want y'all to bend over, you know, act like you bending over and the table's in front of you, and then just shake your butt like this. I'm like, that's the first thing you're going to show them to do? And okay, if you say so. So Candy looking around and she was like, I'm not used to this. And Candy admits, I'm not the best dancer. I wasn't the best dancer back then, and I'm not the best dancer now. And she was like, and these moves just aren't me. In my opinion, the moves weren't Xscape. You know what I'm saying? And I get you don't want a group to come back and be the same that they were back in the day, but I don't think they have to come back being this big stop, drop, pop, and lock group either. I think there's a way to show them choreography that match with their songs, that don't have them out there as if they are dancers. They're singers. And it's one thing to have choreography, but I was like, that's a bit much for the first musical rehearsal and then also having a choreography rehearsal. For me, it was a bit much. And I'm like, I don't want to see Xscape bending over and shaking their ass. I don't. I think there are other ways to do sexy dances that don't include bending over and twerking. But, so, they had that whole thing. So Andrea's like, okay, I'm going to come back at the next rehearsal and we'll get it all together. And, Candy's then outside, she's talking with Tiny. And she's like, basically, I feel like a fish out of water, based on, the whole dance and stuff. I didn't get, because there was a point when you saw the three ladies okay with the dance. That's because they are used to dancing, where Candy is not. And Candy was kind of on the side looking at them dance. And she was kind of like, I don't want to do this. And I get it, because it's day one. You are around people who you have not been around for 9 years. It's a shock to the system, so you're not all in. You just not. So she was saying, I'm just kind of like a fish out of water, and I don't know, how I feel about it. It started with the new version of Understanding, and, that kind of threw me for a loop, and then the whole sexy dancing thing. And Tiny was like, well, girl, you sell bedroom candy. You sell sex toys. How can you not be sexy? And I feel like it's a difference between selling sex toys and talking about sex and being a sexy dancer. You don't have to be a sexy dancer to use a dildo. You know what I'm saying? Let's, truth be told, you don't. And Candy is selling sex toys because she's a businesswoman. And just because you don't know how to dance don't mean that you don't want to be sexy. And that's why I'm like, it was what it was. So she's like, we'll get it all figured out and it'll be fine. What else did we see? Y'all know I do that sometimes without even thinking about it. But so we also see that Latasha has came up with a set list for them to do for Essence in Detroit. And I guess she said it to all the ladies. And Candy, who's at home going over it, she's like, she doesn't like the set list. She says she feels like it's boring. And anybody know, even when you listen to a person's album, when you go to a concert, or if you make your own playlist to do stuff, you don't want to be bored. And, Don Juan, who was one of Candy's managers, who doesn't manage Xscape, but he handles Candy. So they're basically talking, and Candy's like, she want to start but feels so good, which is a slow song. Clap my hands, stomp my feet, every little thing that is boring. I wouldn't want them to come out to that song either. And she's like, I just feel like it's boring. And he was like, I do too. He's like, it's so slow. It doesn't get the crowd hype. It doesn't. And anyone who does a concert, unless you go on to a person who only does slow songs, to a person, I don't even know anybody who, I don't know, but Candy made a good point. She said when you go to a concert or you have a set that you want to start with a smash and end with a smash, because you want to start with something that gets the people hyped. And that's absolutely true. So she's like, I feel like we should start with just kicking it and end with Understanding. And Don, like, I agree. I think that's a good idea. But he's like, I think y'all need to find someone to basically manage the group, to be in charge of stuff, to make decisions like this. Because if not, it's going to be a recipe for disaster if y'all all trying to have your own opinion on stuff. I think that's true. So at the same time, because Kenny then said, yeah, because years ago when we broke up, we didn't even have a real manager. It was just all of us kind of separate. That was the problem. So at the same time as Kenny's at home talking about the set list, you see Latasha and Tamika at the gym working out with Latasha's husband, who was her manager. And, they're basically saying how, they don't feel like Candy is genuine and wanting to really do the tour, and they don't feel like she's committed. And because you can see at the rehearsal, we was they're learning the dance moves, it's the three of us, and she would have by herself in the corner. And even when we was singing the song Understanding, she was kind of off to herself. And I think the reason for that is because, again, she has not been around y'all for 9 years. So, of course, y'all all in the group. Because y'all used to each other. Y'all used to hanging out, talking, or whatever. So, that's kind of how it is. She the odd person out because she's the one who has not been around for all that time. And it don't mean that she's not committed. Again, she's trying to see how things go. You can't sometimes fall back in line, especially when the group ended. Y'all wasn't on the best of terms. It's not like y'all were on the best of terms and then y'all decided to do your own thing and y'all separated and y'all were good at the end. Y'all was beefed out at the end. You know what I'm saying? So you can't even fall back into good habits because it was crazy at the end. So Latasha's saying how, well, you know, I did a set list and I think the set list is great. I think the set list is amazing. And I'm like, girl, bye. It wasn't. So when they at the next rehearsal, of course, they're like, well, yeah, how you like a set list? And Candy like, you know, I don't know. You know, I have ideas. And they kind of make it seem like the fact that she doesn't say, it's great, you know, oh, here go Candy. And my thing is, y'all can't want her to be silent. Y'all can't want her to not have an opinion. Y'all should want, because Candy's a great business person. And you should want to listen to the person who's been doing business all this time since y'all ain't been a group. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen to her. Something she might have some good ideas. Did well, point blank, period. So, you know, she brings up how she feel like it should start with a smash and end with a smash. And she feels like, you know, feels so good. It's too slow of a song to start with. And, you know, we need to start with some bangers. And Latasha's like, we got all bangers. The reason I don't think I'm going to like Latasha's attitude is because Tamika and them and Tiny was almost saying how they feel like Candy and Latasha gonna be battling for the top spot of the person in charge. I feel like Latasha is battling for the top spot. I think Latasha wants to be in charge. I think Latasha feels like Xscape is her group and they should all fall in line. And Tamika and Tiny is cool with that. They don't care. But Candy, that ain't what she's trying to do. And I don't think Candy's trying to be the leader of the group, but she's saying we need to do what makes us all comfortable. We shouldn't have to just follow what one person say because this ain't one person's group. And I agree with that. And, you know, when Candy says, I think we should start with just kicking it and we should end with understanding, Latasha like, I think that's dumb. I think we should do just kicking it later because that's our biggest hit. Now, could they do just kicking it later? They could, but it still makes sense to start with it with a banger and with a banger. I think they should start with just kicking it and end. Well, yeah, and then I do agree with Candy. I really do. And you know, Candy was saying how Latasha thinks she's the leader of the group because that's what it was back then, and how, you know, she was only the leader because she was the oldest. And come to find out, Candy is the youngest in the group. And she said, you know, back then, the reason she kind of just didn't say anything is because she was the youngest and they kind of just didn't listen to her then. But it's a whole different thing now. So when they kind of trying to figure out who should or what song they should do or how to set this to go, T.I. pop up. Yep, here come Tip. And Tiny like, well, I told him he can pop up and come by. But, you know, of course he'll come back when we kind of arguing or whatever. So Candy kind of asked him, hey, this your biased opinion. You as a fan, if you came to our concert, what song do you think we should start and end with? Like, how you think the set list should go? And, you know, he go on, he said, you know, I think you should have the most hype urban song. And to me, that's just kicking it. You want to come out the gate kicking, you know, hype. And she's like, I told y'all. And Latasha's like, oh, whatever, you know, whatever. And he just says, you know, I want y'all to have the best show because y'all are legends. And, you know, it's all about the energy. Like, if y'all come out to a high energy song, the crowd has energy. They feed y'all energy. Y'all feed energy back. If you come in to a slow song and they don't have they just kind of sitting there, you know, it's not gonna be enough energy going back and forth. And they're like, well, we Xscape. When we walk out, they're gonna be screaming until you start singing a slow ass song, and then they're gonna kind of like, what I need. It's like a church song. Like, it's a church song. No, well, not a church song, but, you know, it's the whole, you know, Come to Jesus song. So, we see that whole thing. From there, what do we see? Well, the next rehearsal they have is, you know, they kind of asking Kandi how she feels about booking a tour. And a tour meaning not just this Essence show and the Detroit show, a full-fledged tour. And Kandi says, well, look, I have prior commitments, so I can't commit to a tour, especially for any dates that can't be canceled, because if something to come up with this other commitment, I'm going to have to leave, and I'm not going to be held responsible if people want to get their money back. And they like, people won't want their money back. And she was like, yes, they would, because, you know, if they pay for a show for 3 members, if they pay for a show for 4 members and 3 show up, they're going to probably want their money back. And, well, no, they won't. You know, that's not true. Because they then said, what if we do shows without you? And then she said, you know, if y'all do the shows without me and people want their money back, I'm not going to be held accountable for that. And then when they said, well, no, they won't, she said, well, if that's the case, y'all could have been doing shows without me. Because y'all did before, right? I'm like, speak that truth, Kandi, because that's true. If y'all want to do shows without me, y'all could have been doing that. Y'all don't even need me here. Okay? At all. So from there, they're kind of going back and forth. And then, you know, Kandi brings up, you know, I'm also not agreeing to do a tour until I see some paperwork with all of our names on it, saying that I am in the group and I have a piece of the pie, whatever. And they're like, well, your name is on the paperwork. And she like, y'all ain't show me no paperwork. You know, I need to see who this company is, got my name on. I need to see all this stuff. You know, she then brings up how back in the day when they made her sign a, you know, leaving member notice because she left the group, basically. But she then brings up that they didn't make LaTasha sign it when LaTasha left the group. And, you know, it was some bullshit. So LaTasha then say, one of them said, they only asked Kandi to sign it as a scare tactic, and they thought she wouldn't sign it and that she wouldn't leave the group. And Kandi was like, nah, y'all asked me to sign it, and so I signed it. So the joke was on them, like, y'all tried to play her, and it didn't work. So, joke's on y'all. So as they sitting there kind of talking about it or whatever, Mona Scott Young, the producer of Love and Hip Hop, who's also producing this show, calls. And when her name come up, it said Mona Scott Young, Xscape's manager. She a manager now? But it is what it is. But she do call and say, BET is calling and they're asking if y'all can perform at the BET Awards. And they like, well, let's ask Kandi first. Kandi, can you make it to the show? So they're like, well, what date is it? And she look at her kids like, yeah, I can come on that date or whatnot. So now they also doing this BET show. And they like, cool. So from there, it's kind of the end of it or whatever. So Kandi is leaving. She's like, come on, I need to talk to you. So her and Kandi go outside and they on their way to the car. And Kandi kind of gets very emotionally and gets very upset. She says she feels like, she's like, you know, when me and you first started talking about this, you know, we were on the same page where I told you, you know, I didn't want to engage in anything too deep until I was comfortable around them yet. And it's like, and now it's as if things are just moving too fast. And, you know, I feel like y'all putting too much pressure on me too soon to put my name on a company and, you know, book a tour. And why would y'all do all of this just so fast, especially put my name on some paperwork about some company? I told you I didn't want to engage with them too fast, and I feel like you just put everything that me you talked about out the window and going with them. And so, you know, Tiny like, well, you know what, Kandi? Either you in or you out. And I'm like, Tiny, calm your little ass down, girl. I was shocked when she said that, just based on the fact you were saying it as if we don't really need you, so you either in or you out, or you out, you know, be whatever. And, you know, Kandi was like, look, I don't know if I'm in or I'm out, because I'm doing the Essence show and the Detroit show just for the fans. I'm not really in or I'm out. I'm trying to figure out whether I want to be included in it or not. And so she then says how she does not want to be fighting with Tiny and fighting them. And she feels like that's what's going on. And I get what she means, because she's like, y'all are all on one accord about wanting to go full-fledged. I'm not. And Tiny, you knew that coming in. And she then says, you knew this coming in. You talked to them and you've been talking to them. I haven't talked to them in 9 years. I'm on a whole different wavelength, and you need to understand that. So she also says, well, Tiny did say, you know, I'm not against you. And I don't think Tiny is necessarily against her. I think Tiny, LaTasha, and Tamika need this. You know what I'm saying? I think they need this because, you know, I don't think any of them has had the success music-wise, business-wise as Kandi has over the years. Kandi has been doing things this whole time. I don't think they have. So for them, this is big for them. And I feel like they know they can't do it without Kandi. Because as Kandi said earlier, if y'all could have booked a tour without me, y'all would have did it. But y'all didn't because y'all know y'all also need me a little bit. So Kandi, like, you know, I just want to be sure before I make any decision to do a tour. I want time to just think about it. You know, I shouldn't be forced to make a decision just to do a tour just because y'all are 100% committed and now I'm still filling it out. And, you know, Tiny says how, you know, I know you don't want to do it 100%. I know you're not 100% there, but they don't know that. And my thing is, with Tiny, as my friend, if you know that, then you should say something. You shouldn't make it seem like you either in or you out. You should know I'm not all the way in, so don't ask me that question yet. Let's do these couple of shows, see how it goes, and then at the end of these couple of shows, then book a tour. That's what I would do. So, you know, they both kind of calmed down. Kandi said, you know, I just get really emotional. I was just emotional about this. And, but, you know, we'll get it figured out. And then Tiny like, well, do you want me to, you know, always call you about whatever's going on? And she was like, well, yeah. And I felt like she should too. Because, again, as Kandi said, Tiny is the one who has consistently been talking to Natasha and Tamika. So, Kandi is she kind of is the oddball out. And I believe they should not try to. Well, we know now they on tour. We know that now. But in the beginning, I would have agreed with Kandi saying, let's do these couple of shows and see how it works. We might not even like each other after the first and second show. And I don't want to be booked in for this tour if we really can't do no tour. And that's kind of how it goes off with Kandi saying, you know, we'll get it worked out, you know. Just tell me what's going to be going on and then we'll just take it from there. So, yeah. So, that was the episode. I'm just so tired. And yeah, but you know, I'll review the next episode to see how it goes, but I like it so far. I don't want this to be a whole season of Kandi against Natasha and Tamika. I need Natasha and Tamika to stop that double team situation, and I need them to see it's a person who you have not been around for 9 years. And just because y'all are cool and hanging out together, it doesn't mean that she's the oddball out just because she hasn't been around. Because I'm pretty sure if y'all two wasn't sisters and y'all hadn't seen each other in 9 years, it wouldn't be a buddy-buddy relationship. And if y'all wasn't still talking to Tiny for all these years, y'all wouldn't be buddy-buddy either. Again, it's a weirdness because Kandi is the only one who hasn't been talking to them in all this time. So, yeah. So, that's my review of Xscape is Kicking It. I am not doing the Walking Dead review tonight. I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm about to upload this and go to bed because it is 3:01. So, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. Peace.